You ever wonder how those funeral homes stay open? You know the type. Faded signs out front, called something like Bartholomew and Sons, only staffed by 3 pale old men in ill-fitted black suits. Open 365 days a year in a town of about 1,000 people. They'll tell you that funerals are expensive, that they only need a few to pay the bills. Bullshit. There's a reason all these tiny funeral homes can stay open, and I'm going to tell you. Listen close, I only say this once. They call themselves the next of kin, and I would say they have a hand in around 75% of funeral homes across the USA, Canada, and the UK. Whether that's franchising, operating, or major shareholders in. For every backwater funeral home you'll see, and that'll spin some tale about how they're self-made and family-owned, there are hundreds of backroom meetings, money changing hands, men and women coming at strange times of the night to deliver coffins, crucifixes, embalming fluid. In short, they're everywhere. Secrecy is preferred. No one wants their loved one's funeral run by a multinational corporation. I'm telling you this for a good reason, because the job that I do only makes sense if you understand the broader context. You might not know about the next of kin, but Wall Street does, and a lot of important people have invested a lot of money in the corporation. They have a reputation to uphold. And so, if any scandals erupt around the world of funerals, coffins, you name it, their shares tank. All it takes is one horror story. One mother slips into a coma, gets identified as dead, and then bitterly claws their way out of the coffin and to the surface. Imagine the headlines. Imagine all that shaky, handheld footage going viral. So that's my job. They bury me in a coffin and give me 2 hours to get out. I'm like a crash dummy but for coffins. Anytime a new model comes out, it's my job to, well, take it for a spin. But the past few burials, something has felt wrong. It started with a model they called the Knock Veneer 225. It seems standard procedure to start. I have my usual equipment, a lighter, a hell button, a hairpin. I insist on finishing my cigarette as I'm sat in the coffin, as the mechanical arm slowly moves it over the hole. Jake calls me an asshole, tells me that it'll kill me. I look down at the coffin. We both grin. And then, as per usual, I lie down, getting myself comfortable, and wait. It takes about 10 minutes all in all, the lid, the earth heaped on top. I wait for a while, taking my time to breathe deep, mentally telling myself that this is not permanent, that worst comes to the worst, there's an easy way out. I go through this process each time, running through the emotions of reassurance, making sure that I know that this isn't forever. It's my way of talking my body out of a panic, of making sure that whatever happens, my unconscious doesn't kick into overdrive and leave me with a panic attack. And then it's the checklist. I push each corner of the lid, work the hinges with the hairpin, kick these sides as best as I can. Nothing. I'm about to carry out the last few parts, and then let the guys know on the surface that this one's secure. When I hear something far off, I think, but large. You get used to the noises down here pretty quick. Rats, moles, huge beetles, mice. There's a sort of frenzied patter, their little legs working the dirt, and then a moment of silence. They assess the situation. Whiskers or antenna twitch, and then they start again. Sometimes they'll bump against the sides of the coffin, readjusting their course before moving on. But something about this is different. Now, this might just be my brain getting overactive since I'm buried 6 foot deep in the pitch black. But whatever it is, it feels like it's looking for something. And not in the same way that animals hunt. There's a seeming randomness to animals' movements, something frantic to it. The tunnels they dig aren't based off any blueprints. They're shaky and curved and strange. But whatever this is, it's moving with almost mathematical precision. I can hear it clearly. Sound carries surprisingly well underground. There's a shift, and then forced graves, as if whatever this thing is moving to a new location, and extending in several directions before moving. As if it's intelligent, plotting a route, looking for something. I've still got things to do. The knee test, the thump, hinge lock, but whatever it is seems to be getting closer. And it's big. Bigger than a rabbit or a rat. You can tell by the sound of the earth shifting around it, like rainfall, rocks and dirt pouring into new space. I press the button. From the moment you press the button until the moment you're taken up, there are about 10 minutes. For the digger to move all that dirt and the arm to pick you up, you've got to brace yourself for the reality that you will not see daylight, no matter how much you want, no matter how close you are to losing it, for 10 minutes. That's what they tell you. Have your panic attack once you're out, they say, and don't have it on company time. And so that's how long I have to wait, hearing this strange, precise creature moving around in the earth near me, shifting, searching. When they find me, I'm covered in sweat, and have to take a moment to breathe once I'm out. Jake says I look like I've seen a ghost. I tell him to go fuck himself. Knock veneer 229. There it is again. Even though we're miles from the last burial site, that scratching, the clawing, the seeming thought behind it all, it makes its way towards me, I'm sure. And I swear that this time, I can almost hear its fingers. That's what I'm sure they are. Long, desperate fingers. Knock, Poly C 23. I'm spending less and less time underground now. I've run through the checklist as quickly as possible. I've still got to go down. I have rent to pay, medical bills, debts. Even before I'm done, I press the button, desperate to get out. The air in the coffin's become stifling and too hot, and I swear that whatever that thing is, it's looking for me. Nothing else makes a noise when it's around, as if they're scared, as if they already run away. And it's working its way through the tightly packed earth, through the silt and the shit and the roots. It's taking its time. It's in no rush. Time works differently underground. Knock wood 127A. This time, I'm not quite fast enough. I don't hear it for a while once I'm down, but that doesn't do much to relax me. The coffin's a little smaller than I'm used to, and I feel my neck twinge, the beginnings of a cramp. I'm trying to work into a position where my knees can be used to lever the bottom half of the lid off when I hear it. That shift, the sound of multiple fingers working their way through soil. It's been waiting. It's adapted, changed tactics. Instead of just aimlessly moving around, it's waited at the place that it left off, for what must be days on end, for me to be dropped back in. It starts moving again, and this time, it's so close that I swear to God, I can hear its breathing. These wet and ragged breaths that somehow echo from the material of the coffin, so they're all around me, filling up every single inch of air with the sound. I'm hammering the button now, hoping that the more that I press it, the more that the people on the surface will realize that this is serious, that something's wrong, but I've no way of knowing. And then another noise echoes in the dark. It's not just the shifting of soil, but a tap. One at first. It waits, studying my response. And then 3, in a slow and certain succession. I swallow. I can hear my throat contract, the sound of my heart hammering my ribs, and I am suddenly aware of the dense weight of the earth above me, all pushing down and onto the lid of the coffin. Stones and roots and seeds, all pressed so tightly together that I can hardly breathe. It's getting faster now. It knows that it's found the right thing, knows it's found whatever it's been looking for. I'm trying as hard as I can not to cry, not to scream or shout, or just bang my forehead against the lid until it knocks me unconscious. Now its breath is speeding up, excited, gurgling, and I feel as if it's pushing its face, or whatever it has that counts as the face, against the side, and that it's breathing me in. My scent, my sweat, my fear. Not just tapping now, but smooth sounds. The noise of someone running their hand along the side, searching for a weak point, an opening, a hinge. The sound of someone scratching the wood, pressing their weight against it. In between the movements, there's something stranger. A faint, whispered melody. It's haunting, lilting, reminding me of the nursery rhymes my mother used to sing. Soft and sad and beautiful. This half-singing, half-humming is getting louder with each moment, and I can't make out any words but just the melody that loops over and over on itself, as if whatever it is knows that I can hear, and it doesn't just sound like one voice anymore, but dozens, all half-singing the same tune, soft and ominous, and building to something, and it finds the hinge, and I can hear it testing the metal. The thin scratching, and just as I'm about to scream, to completely lose my mind, I hear the familiar rhythm of the digger. They're here. They find my face, wet with tears, shaking. Jesus, Jake says. What the fuck happened? He offers me water. My hands are shaking too much to drink it. I shake my head. I see his eyes go wide and I turn around. The side of the coffin facing us is covered in deep scratch marks that have stripped the varnish from the wood and left pale stripes. But that's not what makes me feel as if I'm going to be sick. No, it's what these scratch marks say. There, carved into the wood of the coffin. The dead don't sleep. We only dream. I get home and for a moment, everything blurs. I hyperventilate, pull my hair and bite my lip and pace up and down my tiny box room. I sit on the edge of my mattress, look around my room. It's a state. You would be forgiven for mistaking it for a crack den. I mean, not too long ago, a couple years maybe, it was. I would sit where I sit now, hunched over tinfoil or a pipe, or a handful of pills and work at what I had until my hand stopped shaking, and then I would keep going until they shook again. If I hadn't found this job, the only real job that would take me, I would... My phone buzzes. It's Jake. Look, he says, whatever the fuck you pulled today, whatever you've got going on, cut it out. That wasn't funny. I tried telling him that it wasn't me, that I have no idea who or what did that, or what it was trying to communicate. He cuts me off. Sure, right. There's a beat and, for a moment, I think I can hear someone else on the phone. A third breath that doesn't match ours. A slight rustle. A whispering so faint it sounds like static. And then... Grow up. The line goes dead. I'm left alone to bite my nails, to try and ignore the familiar smells coming from next door. The wisps of smoke that slide their way under my door and into my pillow. Another buzz. An email. It's from next of kin. It clarifies that they've had a few testers down recently, that, despite their best efforts, they're short-staffed. They're offering double pay. Fuck. Part of me so desperately never wants to go back down. Wants to stay away from whatever it is down there. But a few weeks of double pay, and I could move out. I could settle some debt, with some people who are running pretty thin on patience. I think about the noises it made. The half-singing, the rasping, the sound of its nails against the wood which suddenly felt so thin. I can't sleep much, and the stretches that I do snatch are filled with vague dreams. Skinless hands under my mattress, men with worms for faces, the weight of the earth above. I'm told in the morning that I'll be working with a different crew, that Jake had called in sick. Shit. I think he's avoiding me. I sent him a quick text, trying to smooth things over. There's no reply. I have never seen the crew before. One large man who seems perpetually wet with sweat, and a smaller figure. I can't make out much about them. Their cap obscures their face, and their boiler suit is baggy. All I can make out on the side of their neck is a black tattoo of a moth. They're silent in the truck as we drive, and while the large man, who I found out is named Miller, has a cloth to wipe the sweat that beads on his face, they don't move. I'm trying to talk myself into it, to convince myself that this isn't insane, but the sounds it made, and the frenzied way the words were carved make my chest hurt. I feel like my bones are tying themselves in knots, my ribs in neat white bows. I want to tell them to turn around, but each time that I open my mouth, I picture the numbers in my bank account, the feel of a mattress that isn't rotting. I think about not being surrounded by dope all day, not having to step over needles and baggies to open my front door. Right, Miller says as we arrive. HQ says that we're going a little deeper today, something about the poly-C line and the weight of dirt. I look to him, the panic evident in my eyes. He shrugs. Don't ask me. I sit in the coffin, chaining cigarettes, well aware that this is my last chance to bail. That as soon as that lid's closed, there's no way of getting out until they dig all the dirt they've shoveled on top of me back off. The coffin is suspended above the hole. That hole that suddenly seems so deep and wide when Miller hops out of the small crane. He shouts something about needing a piss, and I can see him walk a little way to go beyond the truck. The other crew member takes their chance. They walk towards me and stop. The coffin's suspended roughly their chest height, and I can make out their features. Gaunt, waif-like. The sides of their head are shaved to a close stubble, and there are purple hollows under each eye. They look at me for a moment, as if making some calculation in their head, before dropping a small bag next to me. When they speak, it's hushed, and quickly. Follow the moth. You'll hear it against the glass. Buzz once you're down. They know you dream. There's a pause and they look over their shoulder. Miller is coming back this way. They turn to me one last time. I wish there was more time. A beat. An expression crosses their face. Sadness. Regret. Sorry. And with that, they're gone, and Miller calls out. I nod and I close the lid. It takes longer than usual to reach the bottom, and each second is agonizing. Part of my body knows what's happening, that I'm getting further and further away from the surface, and I can feel my mind become slippery. I want so desperately to press the button, to get out as quickly as possible, but I've got to at least wait for them to cover the top with dirt. I use a lighter to examine the things that were thrown in. A small handheld two-way radio, a glow stick, and strangest of all, a jar with a moth inside. The moth stays still even when it sees the flame of my lighter, and I begin to wonder if this is a prank. If Jake has told someone and they've orchestrated this to terrify me even further. But there's something about the way they said sorry. They meant it. Once I hear the sound of dirt being shoveled grow fainter, I run through the checklist to distract myself. Sides, the top, the knee test. It works, at least for a while, and the process of carrying out basic actions calms me a little. I don't try the radio. Figure that if I get in a pinch I can, but for now, I'm just here to do my job. That is, until I hear the sound. There's something different about it. This time, I think. It's further away, but as a precaution, I hit the button anyway. I figured they're pretty much done heaping dirt on top of me, and it gives me time to carry out the rest of the checklist before whatever it is gets as close as it did last time. The radio buzzes. Not yet. What the fuck do they mean, not yet? I grab it and I press the button on the side. Now, I say, get me the fuck out, now. There's a moment of silence and then it buzzes again. Sorry, not yet. I start swearing, and every time I shout, it sends a fresh wave of anxiety through me, makes my pulse quicken, my mouth drier. I tell them that they need to get me out right now, that they have to, that if they don't, they'll lose their jobs and more. I call them every name under the sun. I hammer the button until my hand hurts. Nothing. And growing closer, the noise. Except, now I can tell why it's different. I can tell what's changed. There are more of them. I can make out dozens of different pockets of noise, different paces and locations of the scrambling, and I realize with a slow and certain terror that there's a whole pack of them, that they're moving together, through the dirt, with that strange long fingered scratching and clawing, and all humming the same sad nursery rhyme melody, all working their way slowly towards me. There's nothing I can do. There is nowhere that I can go to. There is just the darkness of the coffin and the knowledge of all the earth above. I want to scream, but I feel that it would give my position away, and holding myself back takes a genuine effort. Straining my chest to stop my lungs from bursting out, putting my hand over my mouth and holding it tight so that not a single noise escapes. And all I want so desperately is to scream and bang the coffin and plead to get let out, but I can't make a single noise. They grow closer. The melody swells. I'm mute with terror, my breathing shallow. They are getting closer and closer. I imagine the long fingers pulling and spasming their way through the dirt, through the rocks and through the roots and towards me. And then comes the sound that I was dreading. As if confirming to the rest that this is really it, not just a stone or a dead tree. And then more. More and more and more, until it sounds less like a deliberate motion and more like a rainfall. Hundreds and hundreds of fingers or appendages tapping and scratching against the side of the coffin, harder and harder, and growing more desperate each time. And I swear to God that I can fucking smell them like rotten shit and mud after it rains, and the noises they make, the gurgling and the humming and the wet breathing, and I think they're working their way in. Scratching and pressing, I can feel the coffin start to buckle, the sides beginning to splinter. I think about what their mouths look like, feel like on me. The coffin must have shrunk, I think. I can't move. I can't even shift my body away from the side they're so desperately trying to force open. And all I can do is lie in the darkness and smell them and shake. My muscles begin to cramp. My cheeks feel wet and warm, and I realize that I'm now taking huge gulps of air, and my chest is heaving, and I hear the splintering grow in the cold air on my leg, and I'm sure that they're through, that they've torn their way through finally, and it all happens so quickly. The earth shakes. I feel the sensation of falling. I roll over myself, hit my head on the lid of the coffin, and my vision flashes white for a moment. There's a bang, and it's still. I'm working on instinct. I kick the lid, and to my surprise it flies open. They must not have locked it. I try to see where I came from, what just happened, but my lighter barely illuminates anything around me. On my knees, I search for what I dropped. I crack the glow stick. It sounds like the snapping of a wishbone. Red light covers the walls, makes the wet stones look like tumors. Shit, why did it have to be red? remembering their advice. I pick up the jar in one hand. I can't carry all of this at once. I put the glow stick between my teeth, like a horse's bridle, and I take the radio. The moth seems to be filled with energy now, hammering against the glass in a specific direction. I take a step forward, look around me. I'm in a tiny dirt tunnel. It's so small that I can't stand, and instead have to move while crouching. The sides press in on me, and the earth is wet to touch. The red light of the glow stick gives the impression of a throat, as if the walls are ever so slightly pulsing, contracting around me. The radio buzzes. Move. Now. They don't like the tunnels, but they'll follow if they know you're there. They're listening. I'm holding my breath. The world around me seems to hold its breath too. I start to crouch walk in the direction that the moth is flying in. I have no other choice. I turn around one last time to see if I can spot where the coffin fell into the tunnel, and as I do, I catch something gleaming in the dirt. There, exposed in the tunnel wall, is an eye. It's pinned open, pale and wide, and the pupil seems to swallow the light. I don't move. I think for a second that it's missed me, but then the cornea shifts, swivels, and it stares straight at me. Somehow it widens further, as if excited or terrified, or filled with some strange sort of pleasure at the sight of me. And then, faintly, but with an echo now, fading down the tunnel either side of me, the humming. They know. There is nothing I can do but move. As I make my way deeper and deeper into the tunnel, I hear something behind. Something fall and hit the floor, and the sound of scattered earth. And then movement behind me. They're here. They know where I am. The humming grows louder, and with no free hand to clamp over my mouth, I bite my lip until I taste blood, and I try not to scream. We talk in whispers as I move deeper. I can hear the half singing from behind, faint, echoing, the soft tapping of the mouth against the glass jar. The walls are covered in deep red light. Occasionally, the moth changes direction, and I'll peer down a potential tunnel to see a figure in there, obscured in the dark, all crimson in shadow, and I swear to God as I move past, they turn to look. Addict, the radio asks. Yeah. Overdoses. A few times, sure, who hasn't? Close to death. Sure, why? It's important that we know these things. My heart's in my mouth. I keep moving as fast as I can, my back starting to ache. My brain works on autopilot, answering questions without even thinking about it, trying to stay as quiet as possible, so as to not disturb whatever's around me. The noises from behind me change. Sometimes a whistling, sometimes a low moan. Sometimes I think I can hear laughter. I see more of the eyes. I see mouths too. White teeth and pink tongues poking from the soil. Then when I get close, when I press myself against the wall of the tunnel, I can hear them whispering to me, the sound of their tongues against their lips. The moth taps away, flying as hard as possible into the glass, following an unseen light. Sometimes, despite my best instincts, I turn around, and for moments see strange shapes in the floor, on the top of the tunnel, climbing the walls with more limbs than is humanly possible. I have the feeling I'm being hunted, that whatever's after me is taking its time, taking their time. Why me? The radio is silent for a while. You dream with them. They know you. You spend your life underground, dreaming. But what does that mean? I have to raise my voice slightly, and I hear my words echo, as if mouths and lips situated on the walls of these tunnels are repeating my words, trying to learn how they taste, how I think. The dead dream. It's complicated. It's a type of language. You speak it. I don't. You do. You've been to the other side and back. And you lie in the dark in coffins and you close your eyes, and you dream. But that's not a language. Languages are the way that we communicate our understanding of the world. There are more than you would think. Gutter, trick tongue, fey. This is just one. Silence again. I keep moving. The tunnel spread out like a fungus, and I pass hundreds of different turns and forks, and I feel like I'm going down, and the air is getting colder, and sometimes I feel like the tunnel contracts a little, like the vein of something sleeping and ancient. Each turn I pass has some new creature in it, some all limbs in the dull red glow, moving like spiders along the tops of the tunnels, some just these suggestions of shapes, seeming to be 2, 3 things at once. Sometimes it's just a wail, a phrase repeated over and over. Phrases like, "And when it sits, it bleeds. And if we bleed, we eat. And as long as we are there in flesh, and..." I don't stay long enough to hear where it goes. The panic in my stomach tunes to a sort of alertness, and I become adept at following the moth without really looking, away in the minor shifts of sound where it's leading me. I pass at one point a woman, covered in bandages and small cuts, huddled in the fetal position, and sobbing, and she sees me and whispers that she has to sleep. She has to sleep soon or they'll come back. She has to sleep or she'll do it again, and want to do it again, and I can't look at her for much longer. Something in her eyes, some frenzied, desperate look. Her skin looks pallid, dead. Time dilates. I'm not sure how long I've been down here. How long I've been like a rat in these tunnels, trapped and scared and moving. Sometimes I hum the melody to myself, convinced that if I sing it, perhaps it'll change something. Perhaps they'll leave me alone. But they never do. They move too, fast and curious and without stopping. I speak into the radio. What is all this? Why? The dead don't sleep anymore. They can only dream. Next of kin is doing something below, and with bodies and the dead can't sleep anymore. But why does this involve me? And as I speak that sentence, I come out into a huge cavern. It's beyond vast, and in the center, I can just make out a black spire, made entirely from stone, that seems to climb up and up forever. My stomach sinks. The reason I can make it out, the reason I can see anything in this room becomes clear. Red glow sticks, the same shade as mine, dot the floor, perch on ledges of the spire, pull around its base to give it the impression that it's burst from magma, from hell. I begin to understand why me. That it's not just me. That it's only me because I'm the next in a long line of people who have asked the exact same question and have not made it back to the surface. I can feel the dream sickness in the air. It teases the edge of my mind. The men with worms for faces return. I can hear moans and feel the texture of wet skin against mine. Someone tells me they love me, and they'll always love me, and I snap back into it. I have no choice but to climb. As I reach the bottom of the spire, I realize how tall it is, how it seems to stretch on forever, upwards and never reaching the surface. The moth is going crazy at this point, hammering the lid of the jar, and with a strange sense of finality, I open it. I watch as the moth disappears from view, heading upwards as fast as it possibly can. I clip the radio into my belt, clamp down on the glow stick in my mouth, and begin to climb. The rock is slick and sharp to the touch, and small jagged edges start to crisscross the palm of my hand and my fingers in tiny red cuts. I bite down harder on the glow stick, using all my effort to pull myself up to the next ledge. As I catch my breath, and I wipe my hands now slick with blood on my shirt, I hear it. Organic clicks and wet growls, and the humming, but louder, clearer. Not just humming now, but singing in a tongue that I don't understand. And I hear it. The sound of footsteps and bones clicking, and animal cries of excitement. And as I look down, I can see them, pouring out of the various tunnels. Hundreds and hundreds of them. Some pale and multi-limbed and thin. Some bandaged and hobbling. Some men with faces that are dominated by one huge gaping mouth that's lined with wet teeth. In more shapes that I can't explain, can't rationalize, that seem to leer and sway out of the dark as they move towards me. I can hear them, all murmuring that same melody, and I can tell that they're hungry, that they want me, and as I watch, I see them move forwards, start to converge at the bottom of the spire, and I realize that they're going to climb. I hear them communicating, their strange noises, and I can feel the wash of dreams off them, textures of their lives, regrets and sorrows and lust, the taste of skin, hunger, a longing, a loneliness. It makes me sway for a second, their dreams floating into my consciousness, but the pain on my hands focuses me, and I keep moving. I climb up, faster now, able to hear them skittering and beginning to climb, able to hear some of them taking those deep, ragged breaths. Some don't climb, I'm sure. Just stand at the bottom and wail and dream and watch. And my heart's going so fast now that I think it must be echoing across the room. I keep climbing. I'm not sure if I'm getting any closer to the top, and I begin to feel like this might be in vain, that this spire might somehow go on forever. I think of everything I would do if I was given one more shot at the surface, if I could feel the sun on my skin again. I make the massive mistake of turning around, just briefly, and I can see the whole spire is crawling with them, climbing over each other like maggots, all frantic movements and clicks, and I can see those circular mouths open and close and tremble in anticipation, and I realize that I can't see the floor of the cavern anymore, that the whole room is covered in them, crawling off the walls and bursting from the floor and from the tunnels, and some are even dropping down from above into the mass, being instantly trampled by the dead who can no longer sleep but can smell my dreams. I keep climbing as they get closer and closer. I can feel the energy slowly sapping away. I can feel my muscles begin to strain, but I can't slow down. I can almost feel their breath on my legs, and I keep working. My hands are shredded now, and each new ledge brings a jolt of pain, and sometimes I bite down so hard on the glow stick that I'm sure it'll snap, that I'll taste chemicals and vomit and fall, but it holds. They half sing louder, that sad melody that all the dead sing. I'm not sure if I can see light or if I'm imagining it, or if the lack of oxygen to my brain is making my vision tunnel, but I swear in front of me, I can see the faintest pinprick of light. I keep moving, my chest heaving, my back and arms screaming in pain. The light gets brighter, more intense. I can still hear them behind me, so close, and as I reach out to grasp the next ledge, I feel something on my leg. I let out a yell, and the glow stick falls from my mouth. One of the creatures has my leg in its hand, the ankle grasped between long, thin fingers, and as I watch, it tries to fit my foot in its mouth, opening wide, all teeth and gums, and my hands begin to slip on the ledge they're holding, too slick with blood to get any real grip, and I can see how it all goes from here. I can see myself falling into the mass, losing myself in the mess of bodies and mouths, awash in their dreams and limbs, and I can see myself stuck down here, unable to properly die, forced to dream forever, hungry and waiting for the next person who comes below. Just as I'm beginning to accept my fate, to realize that this is it, this is happening, I can feel a grip on my wrist. No. Two grips, and a force starts pulling me from above, and I feel myself drawn up, the creature loosening its grip on my leg, and then I can see the moth fly past me, just for a second, and I'm out. I'm above ground. The sunset makes the sky the color of a bruise, and I breathe. In. Out. I'm out. I don't have long to recover before Miller is pulling me up, shoving me into the truck. The wave takes a second, puts the strange contraption above the hole I emerged from, and seems to press something. They turn to Miller. Drive. And so we do. We drive so quickly I have to close my eyes. And behind us, there is this noise, and then a flash of light that leaves me gasping. Miller slams on the brakes. We stop for a moment. My head is throbbing now, and I open the truck door to vomit. I turn to them. What the fuck? We're sorry, they say. You couldn't know. They had to believe that you were trapped. I was bait? Not the term that we would use, but sure. They would know if you knew. They would smell it on you. In your dreams. I think of the red glow sticks that I saw lining the cavern that lit my climb up the spire. And the others. How many before me? They're silent. Exchange a look. You're the only one that we've sent down. Bullshit. I don't believe it. I think they're lying, but the look they share makes me doubt it, just for a second. We're not sure the next of kin will want you back after this. I've had enough of their shit. I want to go home, to go back. Sure. Call us if that changes. It won't, I think. I could live a long and happy life and never even think about the two of them ever again. They drop me off outside my apartment complex and try to say something as I get out. Don't, I say. I look to them exhausted, covered in blood and sweat, and say it again. Don't. I'm so grateful to be back on solid land that just that night, I don't mind as I step over the syringes, as I hear my neighbors argue and throw bottles at the wall. I'm home. That's all that matters. It's that night, as I lay in bed, that I start to think that I can hear something. The sound of someone vomiting outside my apartment, and then a knock at my door. Something beneath me as well. Maybe I'm imagining it, I think, and I roll over, lying on my side. No, I'm not imagining it. For a moment, I think I'm in a coffin. I kick my legs and my arms, roll over, breathe a huge sigh of relief when I can move. But it's there. There's another knock at my door. I ignore it, put my hands over my ears. But my mattress feels strange, and when I go to move it, I see that under it, where the floor is meant to be, is just the bare earth. There under my mattress is dirt. And I swear for just a moment, as if it was moving away the second it pulled my mattress off, I catch sight of an eye, peering back at me. As soon as I see it, it's gone. And as I stand there, hands beginning to shake, whoever was outside of my door walks away. I hear their footsteps getting fainter and fainter, and then, rising into the night, they start to whistle. They start to whistle that same sad melody.